Has this ever happened to you? You sit down to draw and stare at the empty page in front of you, and for the life of you cannot come up with a single idea. You know that you want to draw, but it feels like the empty space of the page is playing mind games with you. As the frustration creeps in, your creative momentum is replaced with the feeling of defeat. Artist block strikes again. If that sounds familiar to you, then I want to invite you to participate in today's 15-minute art class, where I condense an art school lesson plan into 15 minutes of guided, timed drawing practice. My name is Jasmine, and I'm a trained traditional artist, and I'll be guiding you through an art technique known as automatic drawing, which was popularized by the surrealists in the 1920s. It's all about turning off our analytical minds, getting into a meditative headspace, and letting your intuition guide your hands as it makes marks across the paper. We're not thinking about what we're drawing, we're just making marks that feel right to us in that moment. And that might sound a little woo-woo to you, but trust me, automatic drawing is a technique that can benefit artists of all skill levels. So definitely don't feel intimidated. By the end of this 15-minute lesson, your scary, overbearing white page will look like a piece of fine art ready for the gallery walls. So get comfortable, grab some drawing materials, and let's grow our artistic abilities together. Before we jump into drawing, we're going to be using our analytical minds to set our creative minds up for success. So take a moment to prepare a piece of paper by taping a border that will confine your drawing area. If you don't have artist or painter's tape, that's totally fine. You can simply draw a shape that will act as your frame, but tape will give you a cleaner final result. I'm also going to put a few parameters on our 15 minutes of timed drawing. We're going to spend the first 5 minutes only drawing line work. The next 5 minutes will be devoted to filling the paper with color, and the last 5 minutes will be a free-for-all where we respond to what we've already drawn on the paper. And don't worry, I'll keep those directions on the screen as we draw. And one last thing, I want you to select drawing utensils within a limited color palette that will help make sure whatever we draw is unified in the end. So we're not using every color of the rainbow here, just 2 or 3 of your favorites. You'll want some materials that can put down marks quickly and cover a lot of area, so markers, pens, and highlighters are ideal. I'm using a white gel pen, a gold water-based marker, a red alcohol marker, and a brush tip pen. But now that we're all ready, take a deep breath. Let go of any preconceived notions and let your pureness of heart guide your hand. And let's get started. In this first 5 minutes, just start with loose line work. I really want you to let go of any ideas of good or bad drawing and just let yourself feel the marks you're making on the paper. Express yourself with the quality of the lines, the length of a pen stroke, the line weight, the speed. Just make the marks your brain wants to make, and don't worry at all about what it is or is not. And while we're drawing, let me give you a little bit of history. Automatic drawing, also known as surreal automatism, was a drawing technique popularized in, well, the surrealist movement of the 1920s. If you aren't familiar with surrealism, some of the famous artists associated with it were Salvador Dali, Rene Magritte, and Max Ernst. That time period in history was characterized by a yearning to understand the underlying mechanisms of the human mind. Psychological topics like the subconscious were popular. You know, Sigmund Freud, the ego, everything goes back to your childhood and being attracted to your mother. It was a strange time, and this technique attempts to tap into that raw, intuitive, visceral sensibility. So what we're drawing can really be as abstract or representational as you want it to be, but it's best to start with no image in your mind. If you begin to see something recognizable emerge, feel free to lean into that impulse. Surrealists would say that is your subconscious mind telling you something, or feel free to disregard it and follow some other impulse. Right now, I'm really just enjoying playing with the line weight of this brush tip pen. It's allowing me to get a lot of line variance, so I'm kind of just enjoying the feeling of this line meandering across the page. One of the reasons this technique is so good to incorporate into your practice from time to time is that our creativity is like a muscle, and as artists, we're kind of like bodybuilders for that specific muscle. A lot of us spend all day pumping that iron by building formal techniques, trying to master rendering, or drawing a very specific type of imagery that we're interested in. And we need to stretch sometimes. If a bodybuilder only focuses on building muscle and never stops to work on mobility, unfortunately, it won't be long before they become so stiff that they cannot touch their own back. And our artistic skills are no different. We need an opportunity to get loose, stretch out those muscles that we don't normally touch, and let those creative juices flow. And that is precisely what we're doing here. So at this point, I'm just doing little marks all over the composition. I've got a lot of large shapes here and sweeping lines, but I don't know, something shifted in me and I felt compelled to do these sharp, scraggly little shapes. I'm kind of getting like explosion of confetti vibes. I don't know. Alright, the first 5 minutes are just about over. Great job so far, by the way. For the next 5 minutes, we'll be focusing on just coloring our drawing area. So this can look like filling in the shapes, adding washes of color in different places, or drawing completely new lines and shapes with color. This step of filling up your drawing surface and eradicating most of the white space is something that I do in basically any of my drawings, and it can really help to give your work that quote-unquote fine art look. White space in a composition can be used very intentionally to give the eye a place to rest, but most often the white space of a paper is left unintentionally and doesn't really add anything to the drawing. I'm not trying to sound harsh or pass any kind of value judgment, but leaving a lot of white space is often one of those things that just makes the drawing look amateur, which is fine, by the way. We are all amateurs at some point, but if you want that polished artist look to your work, it's a good idea to start getting into the habit of eradicating that white space on your paper. Even if it's just a wash of some off-white color, it will generally look more intentional and interesting. Leaving a bunch of the white space of the paper is kind of the equivalent to a baker doing a crumb coat on a cake and then never fully decorating it. It's definitely still a cake, but it might not be something that people want to pay money for. So in this step, we're still letting our intuition drive the marks we're making, but we're just trying to get rid of a bunch of that yucky white space. And honey, I promise that once we remove this tape, it's gonna look like something you would buy at an artist boutique. So at this point, I'm happy with the amount of red that I've covered the composition with. Fun little fact, red is my favorite color to draw with. I just find it so expressive. But now I'm using a black marker to balance out some of the white space that I've left. I've mentioned this in a previous 15-minute art lesson as well, but one thing that is so great about these timed drawing practices is that they force you to let go of perfectionism. I do not know about you, but perfectionism is something I struggle with a lot in my drawings, and it can completely immobilize my creativity. The fear of making the wrong mark will have you making no mark at all, and part of growing as an artist is learning to push through the ugly phases, to make unexpected marks and grow outside of our comfort zones. Perfectionism is unfortunately incongruent with those processes. So 15 minutes is just not a lot of time. It's certainly not enough time for perfection, and it could be argued that there is no amount of time that would be enough for perfection. So darling, don't chase the impossible. Focus instead on what you can do. Not everyone can paint the Mona Lisa, but everyone, and I mean every single person, can get in touch with their creative side and make some expressive marks on the paper. And that is exactly what we're doing here. And after some fumbling and indecisiveness with my materials, I am back to black honey just like Amy Winehouse. I guess you could say this is the analytical side of my brain speaking, but I just felt that the values and colors were imbalanced. There was just too much white and red, and I just really needed some dark values to bring some weight and groundedness to the overall composition. But I am trying to at least not think too much about the marks I'm making with this black marker, so hopefully it still qualifies as an automatic drawing. And I hope you're enjoying this automatic drawing so far. I know it can be a little bit uncomfortable, but there are many uncomfortable things that are worth doing. So if you're feeling a little bit lost in the chaos of this drawing technique, give yourself the grace to mess up. You might just surprise yourself with what you discover. Now, in our last 5 minutes, the assignment here is to just be kooky, be silly, have fun. At this point, we have laid the foundation of our drawing. We've built support beams, and you probably even have walls and a roof. So now we're just adding in the windows, giving it some trim, and doing a little bit of landscaping. So using all the tools at your disposal, we are going to just respond to the marks that we already have on the paper. We're using all that creativity that has gotten loosened up over the last 10 minutes. And like I said earlier, this can be as abstract or representational as you want it to be. If you see a shape that looks like something you recognize, feel free to use that time to turn that blob into a bird, or possibly an amoeba. Or if you're enjoying just feeling your drawing utensil drag across the paper, if you just want to make erratic lines, that would be totally amazing as well. We're layering here, we're getting silly, and we are embracing the surreal. Now, I am definitely more of a representational artist, and by that I mean I draw almost exclusively representational subject matter, usually bad bitches. So I don't know if automatic drawing is the technique I will employ every single time I sit down to sketch, but I will say it feels really good to me to just not think at all about what I'm drawing and just let my hand go. Functionally, I can see this being a great way to make abstract and completely unique textile patterns for character design. Like, imagine you're drawing a robed figure and you fill the entirety of the fabric with this type of mark making. Like, fierce is fierce, honey. So I can see that adding so much visual interest and textural complexity to so many different types of drawing. So that part of this practice is getting me really excited. I also have to say that I am obsessed with this golden marker. I have to resist the urge to cover every inch of every drawing in it. Just the iridescence, the shine, the way it glides onto the paper. It reminds me of one of my favorite nail polishes of all time that I would wear constantly. It was a golden, I think it's called Sinful Colors. It's like a drugstore brand, and sadly, I can never find it anymore. So this marker is healing the hole in my heart that was left when that nail polish got discontinued. And oh my gosh, I'm so silly. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. If you are following along, I would love to see what you're drawing. So my Instagram is linked in the description here and on my channel. But please, if you're doing an automatic drawing with me today, send me a message on Instagram with a photo of it. Don't be shy, I promise I'm very friendly. I would just really love to see, and I plan on doing more of these 15-minute art class videos, so I would love to be able to have a segment where I share what we all drew together. That's just like a dream of mine, so send me those messages. Alright, and we have less than a minute left. I don't want to make this weird, but I feel like we've been through something very transformative together. Like, we just tapped into the deepest levels of the human subconscious together. We're like basically scientists. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm losing my marbles a little bit. But yeah, I'm just making little marks all over the page, adding some texture here or there. It will never not astound me how quickly 15 minutes flies by when you're actively drawing. But look at us go. Oh my god, we made it. And now we get to reward ourselves with possibly the most satisfying experience known to humankind, which is removing our tape and revealing those crispy, clean edges of our final artwork. Just be sure to go carefully and pull away from the drawing so you don't rip the paper too much. All right, you guys, how are we feeling? I feel pretty good about what I drew. I actually did 2 other sketches that I'll throw up on the screen here because I was just having so much fun. But with that, thank you so much for participating in today's 15-minute art class. Even if it was scary or uncomfortable, I hope that you were surprised or excited by some of the marks you found yourself making. And if you absolutely do not like automatic drawing and you're like, girl, I am never doing that again, then that is totally fine as well. Thank you so much for stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something new though. As a reminder, I do plan on doing more of these 15-minute real-time guided art classes. I think it would be really fun to share our classwork with each other. So if you did end up following along and if you feel comfortable doing so, send me a message with your drawing on Instagram and I'll include it somewhere in my next 15-minute art class so that we can all see each other's drawings. Also, if you want more free art lessons in the future, be sure to subscribe. I also post art vlogs, draw with me's, and other types of content around art, so I really hope to see you again. But that's all for now. Mwah.